is a victory not just for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, not just for the victim in the case, Andrea Constant, not just for the 62 of us publicly known survivors of Bill Cosby's drug-facilitated sexual crimes against women, but it's also a victory for all sexual assault survivors, female and male. It's a victory for womanhood. And I thank the jury so much for positioning themselves on the right side of history. I just want to hug them. I just want to hug them.
Well, interesting. Let's play the intro. Oh, is it stuck? Hold tight, guys. I want to play my beautiful intro music for you before I get started. This is the Hake Report, and you can call in at 888-775-3773. Just play it over me anytime if you get it right working. Okay. The Hake Report.
Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
I know some of you really like this song and some of you don't. But anyways, we're going to be talking about Kanye West and Bill Cosby and what it all means for America, for men, for whites, blacks.
Oh, it's
everything.
the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la. Oh, it's the Hake Report, the Hake Report, la la la.
Welcome to the Hake Report. Thanks for joining me. I apologize for the technical issues we're going through, but thank you for bearing with me. And you can call in, as I said, 888-775-3773. 888-775-3773. So I wanted to talk about, am I too high? I wanted to talk about Bill Cosby. And some of you are happy that he was convicted on all 3 counts of sexual assault. And some of you don't really know what to think. And and so I wanted to talk about this situation a bit because even if he is guilty, it does not bode well for men or women or America or the justice system because you'll notice that the lynch mob has started to win. And this has been going on for a while. If you think back to the case of George Zimmerman, where George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin pretty clearly in self-defense, and there was no real evidence to suggest that it was murder, I suppose they may have thought they could have had possible evidence of manslaughter, but definitely not murder, but he was charged with murder. And so I want to talk about how the justice system has become pretty biased because there are liberal judges, liberal lawyers, prosecutors, and by liberal I mean non-objective. They're social justice warrior type people. They believe in racism. They believe in all that stuff, sexism. They believe in men are evil and women are victims and things like that. And so with this Cosby situation, well, okay, back to George Zimmerman. He should not have been charged with murder. He was exonerated, and so people said, "Oh, the justice system worked," but in a way, the justice system did not work because he never should have been charged with murder, possibly manslaughter. I remember hearing Ben Shapiro say, "Murder is ridiculous. It should have been manslaughter at most." But anyways. You have that, and you have all these people who totally reject. To this day, they say that Trayvon Martin was murdered. To this day. And so I consider that slander against George Zimmerman because he's innocent of murder, certainly. Whatever you think of what he's acted like since then, and all that, because he's been getting into trouble, like he's had women accuse him of being domestically violent or something like that. And he's been very pro-gun and outspoken and in the limelight when he probably should have just laid low. Whatever you think of all that, he did not murder Trayvon Martin. So there's that, and then you have Bill Cosby. And Bill Cosby, you will notice that ever since Bill Cosby came out against the irresponsibility of many blacks, he's said, pull up your pants, take responsibility for yourself, all that. A lot of conservatives started to like him for that. Normally, he had been kind of out of politics. But he is pretty liberal in some sense. I remember him saying a lot of stuff that I did not like. But he always maintained a good image for himself, and he tried to set a good example. Whatever was going on behind the scenes, he hid that pretty well, and never mind what he did behind the scenes. That is important to present a good image to the public, because you don't need to be sharing all your dirty laundry. You don't need to be letting it all hang out as the 60s type people did. You don't need to be disgusting and totally like throw out the baby with the bathwater. You should be striving for righteousness, and if you fail in that, you should be still not sharing all your business of all the nasty things that you do or have done. You don't need to be sharing that stuff. And so Bill Cosby did set himself up so that he stayed married to the woman that he's still married to, I believe. And even though apparently he cheated on her quite a bit, and he may have even done some worse things, but we don't know. But he was convicted of those things, but we still don't know because I haven't seen any evidence. They've been going after him since he did the pull up your pants thing. You'll notice this whole situation blew up a few years ago when comedian Burgess Owens gave a lot of... Oh, no, it was not Burgess Owens. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Burgess Owens, you're a good guy. What is it? Okay, there's this guy, this comedian, young guy. He said, man, Cannibal Burgess. Cannibal Burgess. I gave Joel the wrong name. I'm sorry, Burgess Owens, you're a good guy. Burgess Owens is like a black conservative. I think he might have played football or something like that. So no. Hannibal Burgess. Cannibal. So Hannibal Burgess did this skit, not skit, but he's, a stand-up comedian, pretty popular, and he's one of those people that gave credence to the rumors floating about that Bill Cosby was a quote-unquote rapist. Yeah, that's the guy. Liberal, nasty, pro-black, anti-morality type of guy. And so he's he was like mocking Bill Cosby for saying, pull up your pants. He said, yeah, but you rape women, Bill Cosby. And all of these people, that went viral on social media, in news media, and everything. And since then, Bill Cosby has had all kinds of accusers coming after him, and a renewal of all kinds of litigation and prosecution. And Bill Cosby at one point admitted that he gave quaaludes, which is like sleeping pills. It's basically like in a sense, it's kind of like a date rape drug, but in another sense, it was just a party drug. According to everything that I've heard, a lot of people were taking quaaludes back in the days, and he was in this party life where he would. Well, if you think about it, in the 90s, I was a 90s kid, and I remember hearing all these stories of men and women, young boys and girls, giving each other ecstasy, just pills, just going to raves and taking pills from strangers and taking drugs. And some of them would sleep together, some would just party. And so that's the type of life that has been going on since the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s today. And so the fact that Bill Cosby admitted that he had quaaludes, and I think that he may have said that he gives them to women or had them for sleeping with women, basically, or giving to women. And since he said that, that allowed a retrial of apparently 3 women who accused him of sexual assault. Supposedly, like, some of them went up to his room and different things like that. And so nobody in the on a mass scale is asking. Many people on a minor scale, like the people, are asking, why are these women going up to his room, stuff like that, being alone with men like that. They're questioning their motives for that. But regardless, he said that. So now a lot of people thought that he was guilty since he said that. And so it opened the door for a retrial, and now he's been convicted. So he's like 80-something years old, near blind, and it was funny because the prosecutor was trying to just basically totally drive it way too far. They're calling him a flight risk and said that he has a private jet and said that we need to keep him and revoke it, don't give him any bail. And the judge said, that's ridiculous. After Bill Cosby got up and said, I don't have a plane, you a bleep hole. And so it's crazy. And basically they're trying to just bury this guy. Totally make an example out of him. But like I said, after Burgess Owens said that, and Burgess Owens basically exposed the whole motivation of this by calling out Bill Cosby for calling out blacks to be moral, even though apparently he was immoral in many ways. I mean, Hannibal Burgess. Man, that name is stuck in my head now. Hannibal Burgess, not Burgess Owens, called out Bill Cosby for so-called raping women. But to me, that's so evil because that's just spreading nasty rumors. You don't know it's true. You don't know the facts. And even with this conviction, the people have not heard any evidence. If you've heard evidence, call me up, 888-775-3773. But I reject the notion that this quaaludes admission, is evidence. It's not evidence. It shows that it's only evidence that he was immoral, drug-taking, sex-having guy. But it doesn't mean that he was sexually assaulting them necessarily. He may have, but he may not have. And so this whole thing is, this woman that I just played called it a victory for womanhood. And she's just making a dramatic scene, crying. You didn't hear it, but she said, pinch me. And she's talking to the media, these women in the media. And she's saying, oh, this is, I want to thank the jurors for being on the right side of history. And you know, anybody who says right side of history, they are not for morality. They're not for what's right. They're for the quote-unquote right side of history, which what I take to mean the direction of the country against men, for women accusers, women to accuse men, and the sheer this is another thing. There were 62 women who came out against Bill Cosby, and people took that as, since there's 62 women who've come out against him, he must be guilty. But accusations are not evidence. Somebody like Bill Cosby, apparently he was sleeping around a lot, is going to have a lot of women enemies. And I reject also the notion that they did it just for money. People do things look at yourself. When you're driven to do stuff, it's, say you get in an argument on social media, you're driven to do stuff, that's not for money, that's for, to get revenge, to be nasty, out of sheer anger and evil and hatred, spite. I think they did it for spite as much as for attention, money, whatever. And for drama attention, you want to feel like a victim, get patted on the back and stuff like that. It's an emotional high for sure. You saw those women coming out of the courtroom, making a scene, crying and hugging each other. It's just, it doesn't look right to me. It doesn't look like they're for good. So that's my feeling on it, and you may differ. A lot of people have come out against Jesse, who said that this should be a lesson for men not to be sleeping with women before marriage, not to have sex outside of marriage. And if you're into that, you got to figure out a way to totally like repent, because these are very evil times, and anybody who stands up for doing good and setting a good example and pulling up your pants and being responsible and all of that and reject this victimhood, false victimhood thing, you're going to be a target. They're going to try to pick you apart and call out basically like Satan is the accuser, I think. They're going to call out any little thing that you've done wrong, and you will be exposed, kind of thing. So you got to be perfect. And where you're not perfect, you got to really protect yourself, be smart, and strive for perfection. The Bible does say, be blameless and aim for perfection. And so if you know how to totally repent from all the stuff that you're doing that would be embarrassing, should you become a public figure and they come after you, how do you repent? You better repent right away. They say, like, he who is faithful with few things will be faithful with big things. With the little things, he'll be faithful with big things. So, man, that's like a serious warning. It reminds me of the Bill O'Reilly situation. Bill O'Reilly, I don't believe that he was guilty of all the horrible things. That was another name I forgot to give you. I don't believe that he was guilty of all the horrible things that they were accusing him of. Remember, like, Perkita, whatever her name was, the woman, Hot Chocolate? She was just piling on, in my opinion. This woman who interned or worked for Fox News for a little while, black woman, she went on The View and accused Bill O'Reilly of calling her hot chocolate and then, like, becoming kind of nasty towards her. And she referenced the race thing. She said that it was kind of like a master plantation type of a situation. And so these people are they pile on. And it's so wrong, in my opinion. I don't buy into the notion that these people are for actual justice at all. And so, regardless, like, we have to become, like, really, if we're going to really fight for the side of good, we have to become really perfect. That's my opinion, but you should also still speak out for what's right. Don't let them shut you up. And don't apologize when you're not wrong. So that's my take on the Bill Cosby thing. And you can call in 888-775-3773. I want to move on to Kanye West. Kanye West has been known to be very erratic and do stunts. He got up on stage when Taylor Swift was winning an award, some Grammy or something like that. Pop singer, white girl, good music. And he said Beyonce's something, some project that Beyonce did was way better and she should have won the award. And so Barack Obama, who was president at that point, called Kanye a jack A. Bleep. Well, I mean, it's a donkey, right? But anyways, he called him a jack A. And so, it's very easy to hate on Kanye because Kanye is kind of erratic. He, attention seeker, very self-aggrandizing, talented as a DJ, and maybe not as much as a rapper, but people really love his music. I like his music too, but he married Kim Kardashian, who's basically claimed to fame as doing a sex tape and being the daughter. I don't know. She has a lot of claims to fame. Actually, I think she's probably pretty talented as far as being like a businesswoman, maybe. It's possible. She she's Armenian and white, I think, something like that. But she married Kanye West, and it's kind of interesting. Kanye has since come out and said, I like how Candace Owens thinks. And then he said, I love Trump. He met with Trump beforehand. Months ago, he was at some show and talking about making America great again or something along those lines. Very, very Trump hinting at Trump stuff. And so and yet he's also been acting kind of crazy. Like, just people have questioned his mental health since even before he came out for Trump. And so you have to remember that he's been erratic. And Jesse said that he has not been the same since his mother died. And I don't know that situation. And he said that even before his mother died, he was kind of wild and out of control. I remember when I first became aware of Kanye West was when he came out with this song called Jesus Walks. And it was something about we need Jesus. And so that was like, I was into like the Christian music scene, but also like indie music, and the indie people were getting into rap too. And so that was like 15 years ago maybe, or maybe a little less, but anyways, around that time. And so I've known about him since then. And he's just, all those rappers, they're into like the racism thing and all that. Many of them, including Kanye West, are kind of out of control people. They're very talented, very successful, but don't have the inner stability and character that you need to be able to handle that very well and handle life in general well. We all need that inner character and stability. We need to become very stable geniuses, as President Trump is. But Trump has not always been that, I don't think, because he's done a lot of wrong stuff in his life. But today he seems to be doing right, which is nice. But anyways, Kanye West also tries to be very independent thinking. And so he says, I like how Candace Owens thinks. And Candace Owens is this young black woman who is known as Red Pill Black. She was known as Red Pill Black for a while until her real name came to the forefront. And she became famous because she used to be a liberal who had a website that doxed conservatives. And doxing is when they put your personal information, whether it's address, possibly social security number, things like that compromise you, your place of employment. People can come over or call your boss and get you fired because you said something that they didn't like. And, they can have a whole bunch of trolls call your employer or have a bunch of people outside your home protesting outside your home because they'll find your place of residence online somewhere. That's what doxing is. Doxing is when they put out your personal business, personal information. And so that's what's been happening. She was doing that, and then she got kind of informed and became a more conservative, and very like typical black conservative type of a person. Trump supporter though, and young woman, and became very popular because she's very well spoken and has been putting out videos. And people have met with her, and some people have questioned her legitimacy, but a lot of people say no. She really believes what she's saying. She's not being fake in that sense. So Kanye West says, "I like how Candace Owens tweets out. I like how Candace Owens thinks," and then it's a big controversy because Candace Owens has been against Black Lives Matter. She said that Black Lives Matter are a bunch of whiners, and people say, oh, these are poor black kids who are trying to say, don't kill me, stop killing us, to the police, apparently. And so that's their argument against Candace Owens calling Black Lives Matter a bunch of whiners. In reality, Black Lives Matter, as many of you know, is very social justice oriented. Not all of them. Many of the rioters were poor people saying, stop killing us. But they don't know what they're talking about because nobody's killing them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be alive to be saying, "Stop killing us." It's only there are people that get caught up in unfortunate circumstances with the police, and they push the police to a point where it's a very volatile situation, and then they get themselves killed. And so that's what keeps on happening. And the media loves to jump on these stories, so they report on it and don't cover the fact that blacks commit disproportionate crime and they have disproportionate run-ins with the police. And they also disproportionately resist arrest at 8 times the rate that whites do in San Francisco, according to, I believe, the police. So they're not telling the whole truth about the situation. So Candace Owens is rightly calling them whiners. And so anyways, Kanye West came out and said, I like how she thinks, and I love Donald Trump, and nobody's going to make me not love him. And isn't that nice that he is sticking to his guns? And Trump has tweeted about that and saying it's great. He's opening up a lot of minds because people are in a quote-unquote mental prison. And I don't think Trump said that, but Scott Adams, who is a guy who predicted Trump's win, said that. And I believe that Kanye mentioned it too, mental prisons. A lot of blacks are in mental prisons. And Kanye himself is in a mental prison of a sort because he's so erratic. And he's not all there, in my opinion. He's calling out, he's saying, we're about love. And love is just kind of like hate, but it's better than hate. It's love. And so he thinks that love is this emotion thing. And so he's playing nice and yet also standing his ground, which is nice to see. John Legend called him out and said, he texted him. John Legend texted Kanye and said, brother, you know I love you, but you are leaving a lot of people feeling betrayed. And so you can talk about this if you like. 888-775-3773. 888-775-3773. And he said that a lot of John Legend, the very, very anti-Trump guy, believes in racism, fought with Donald Trump Jr. on Twitter, arguing over stuff. Your dad is a racist and stuff like that. Your dad is a white supremacist. Stupid stuff. John Legend texts Kanye and says, you're leaving a lot of people feeling betrayed. Just because he says, I love Donald Trump. And because he says, I like how Candace Owens thinks. People are you feel betrayed because you like somebody? That's very interesting. Because I can admit that I like John Legend. But I don't agree with anything that he's about. I think he's really disgusting in the way that he acts and speaks out and misleads the people. He's misled himself. He's misguided. He believes in that whole Black Lives Matter thing. He sang that Selma song. One day when the glory comes. Anyways, never mind. I'm not going to try that. So this guy, John Legend, is trying to say, think about your legacy. Think about your fans. A lot of people look up to you, and you have to lead them in the truth and stuff like that. So Kanye says, John Legend, I love you, brother, but you bringing up my legacy and my fans is a fear tactic meant to suppress manipulate my free thought. Manipulate my free thought. And he said, John Legend says, think freely, but also think with empathy. And there's that liberal word, empathy. Empathy is not love. Empathy is feeling sorry for people and trying to feel what they feel and all that stuff. Empathy is fake. That's like the modern day interpretation of love, which so many of us fall into, even without saying the word empathy. But it's a liberal word. It's anti logic. It's anti truth, because Trump tells the truth, and they're like, oh, he has no empathy. But actually, I think Trump does have empathy. He feels sorry for people, but he actually I also think that he has like real love in that Trump sticks to his guns, and he's less erratic than Kanye, in my opinion. So that's that. You can call in and discuss this, and people are talking about Pharrell too, and Pharrell I mix up with Kanye. They look similar to me, and they have kind of similar voices a little bit. I also wanted to talk about one thing that somebody said on here. His name is, I think is Dario, who is always right. He said that we can't go one show without talking about black people. And it's just very interesting because black people are very entertaining, so there's something to talk about. And also, you'll notice that anything that touches on making blacks better becomes a big controversy. There's a huge fight against it. And I think that's what ties this Bill Cosby thing and this Kanye thing together, because Kanye is basically calling blacks to be free. And he's an imperfect person. And Bill Cosby was calling on blacks to be responsible. And he's an imperfect person. Now, because they're imperfect people, people are calling out Kanye, he's mentally ill. And it's sad that conservatives are jumping all over and overexcited about Kanye for being pro-Trump, because it's sad because he's mentally ill. And his mental health is obviously unstable. And there may be a little bit of truth to that, but they're using that to totally dismiss what he's saying, the truth and the effect. They're trying to diminish the effect of what he's saying and what he's doing, because a lot of people do look up to Kanye West, and a lot of people do take this stuff that he says seriously, even if he is a little off. I take the stuff that he says seriously because it's so interesting to hear what people really think. And he's one guy who tells what he really thinks, and he doesn't mind being very unpopular for it. I mentioned months ago, maybe not that long ago, but I mentioned months ago as well, that Donald Trump is very smart in that he doesn't fight those he is not fighting against currently. And I mentioned how it's so easy to write off Kanye West because he is he's very hateable type of a person because he's so kind of arrogant in a way. We're all arrogant, but he doesn't hide it. And anyways, Trump said, I never had a problem with Kanye. He's a good guy. And that is so smart, unlike Barack Obama, who called him a Jack A for going after Taylor Swift, which it kind of, it's kind of justified. But anyways, Trump was smart to do that, and he met with Kanye, and everybody who meets with Trump notices that he's a very good listener, and they come out pleased with him. And so that's very nice to see. That's a skill that I think more conservatives need to have, is not fight against those they're not fighting against currently, and just talk to people, and yet stick to your guns. So I have a caller, Maze, out of Dayton, Ohio. Maze, how are you doing?
Hello, James.
Hey.
So you're having a conversation about Kanye.
Yes.
Now let's see some history on Kanye.
Okay.
Kanye married Kim.
Yeah.
Which is Bruce Jenner's daughter, stepdaughter.
Yeah, that's right.
He's a Republican.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And Kim is famous for what?
Bruce Jenner. You're talking about Bruce Jenner?
Yeah, that's her stepfather.
Okay, Bruce Jenner is Kim Kardashian's stepfather. He married. He became transgender. That's the most thing that he's the most famous for now. He was an Olympic decathlete, very successful in his younger days. He was a very successful Olympic decathlete. The decathlon is a track 10 events in track that you have to do very well at to win the gold medal, and he won the gold medal. Very good athlete. But then he married this widow of a man named Kardashian, who was a lawyer, I think, for O.J. Simpson, incidentally. And this woman already had children, including Kim Kardashian and other Kardashian children. And then they had more kids together, and they had some Jenners. So And they are also famous because they have a reality TV show, which I haven't seen a lot of, but it's kind of disgusting because the girls are very materialistic and Bruce Jenner is
Really?
very weak and stuff like that.
No, you left out the part, James.
Yeah.
And Bruce is Republican, right?
Yeah, he became he is Republican. Even many, incidentally, many like transgenders who are kind of older like that, I hear, are kind of conservative because they're still men, and men tend to be conservative. But yeah, he voted for Trump. He came out against Trump because Trump wanted to ban transgenders from the military, and so Bruce Jenner, also called Caitlyn among the politically correct. I don't like to call him Caitlyn. It seems just ridiculous. It's sad. So anyways, he's a Republican. He voted for Trump, and now his step-son-in-law has come out for Trump, too. It's very interesting.
Yeah, so can I finish?
Yeah.
So we're going through the family. So his daughter went up to Congress to discuss something. So could they be Republicans? Is why he's doing that? Because at one time Kanye said that Bush was a racist, didn't he?
He didn't say Bush was racist. I don't think he said Bush is racist. He may have. He said President Bush doesn't care about black people.
About black people,
Which,
right, okay.
you know, I was thinking about it. Kanye was right. President Bush, I mean, he cares about him in that he's a compassionate conservative, but that's not real compassion. He didn't really call out the blacks for their voting Democrat. He didn't call him out on. He didn't really change a lot of stuff. He was kind of a liberal Republican, a rhino, and he came out against Trump. George W. Bush came out against Trump, so that proves that he doesn't care about black people, in my opinion. So Kanye was, in a sense, right.
So now y'all loving Kanye.
Yeah.
I said y'all had a right to do that. But I say, who cares? That's Kanye's right to like who he wants to like. It's just y'all didn't care for President Obama, but y'all was having a hissy fit because people wouldn't go along with you and dislike him because y'all didn't like him. You don't like him.
Well, I mean, there's some truth to that. A lot of us want people to agree with us, and it's a pain when people disagree. But I'll tell you that Obama did a lot of damage. And Trump and Kanye coming out for Trump can do a lot of good. So you're right in that people get overexcited about it. I think you try to act like you're more aloof than you really are.
I am aloof. Like I say, y'all don't choose who I take to vote for, and y'all don't choose who I dislike. And because listening to you all, you hate the world, and then say in the name of Jesus. But that's not me. I choose the people that I like. It's not about looking at somebody and disliking them. It's getting to know them and different things like that to know if you like them or dislike them. But if you can't have a conversation with them, how do you know what they're thinking, or how they're doing? You're assuming.
I don't know, because people really tell you what they're thinking. As the Bible says, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. So you get a feel of what they're really about. At least on a more visceral level, because they're spreading these evil lies and rumors about Black Lives Matter.
If you don't understand what you hate, James, you're gonna hate it and not even understand why, just because somebody told you to.
Well, I mean, nobody told me to hate. People don't have to be told to hate. They just hate. Really? People already hate without being told to hate.
Oh, yes, you do.
No, you don't.
If you say so.
Who have I told to hate?
It goes like this. The Muslims, they're dangerous people. You should stay away from them.
But that's not hate.
What is it?
It's the truth. Love? It's the truth. Muslims are basically okay. I was listening to Bill Lockwood, frequent guest on Jesse's show. Bill Lockwood said that Islam is not so much a religion as communism with a religious sword in religious garb. Like they do the prayer stuff and all that, but basically it is a political power grab. Their whole thing is jihad, and you can do jihad with a pen, meaning propaganda, or you can do laws, or you can do jihad by killing people, and each jihadist has his role. And so jihad doesn't mean struggle; it means war. It means struggle, but it means war. And it's war against freedom. and it's
yeah,
war
but
against
it's-
Christianity. It's also war against other religions, and they have their set of ethics, I guess. They do, but
But James, how did Christianity get in other countries? Because Christianity is a Muslim country too. So why did they let them through the door?
because
bad people.
because we
Supposed to be what?
but we don't have Christianity doesn't have jihad. Christianity
You don't
has
just-
the spiritual battle, and so
Okay.
it's a spiritual
like
battle. It's not physical. Now,
It's like I say,
Now.
if you don't learn and understand the things that you complain about or look at as bad, you don't know. You just go about what somebody told you. If you want to understand it, go into it and be a part of it and see if you like it or not, and then you step away from it, and then you complain. Not because somebody put it in a book, never had the opportunity to touch it or feel it or see it. That's what's wrong.
I think you're going to have to be more specific because you're speaking in such general terms that
Okay.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're
What do
actually
Mus-
disagreeing with.
What do Muslims do besides them having their burqas and all of that?
They
you
come
take
to
it-
our country and complain about Islamophobia, and then they
A whole lot
try
of
to
people
get.
do that.
What's that?
A lot of people come to this country and complain about everything,
Yeah.
different things.
Right.
And then it's like the
But
Catholic.
you brought up Muslims. You didn't bring a
Yes,
whole
no,
lot of
I'm,
other people.
I'm just using them as an example. I can bring
Yeah.
up the Jews. I can bring up the Catholics. I can bring up the Buddhists. I can bring up whichever one you want.
So then, what's your point?
Do you know one of those people is your friend?
I don't know if I have any Muslim friends.
So they
That's a
can
good
help you
question.
with what you don't understand?
I know that Jesse has some Muslim listeners and callers.
No,
Some of
I'm
them
not
really
saying
love what he's
listeners.
about, and some don't, because there are people who are lost in an ideology, or just.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even Christians are lost. Many Christians are not actually following God, right? So
they're
there's
not
many
following him.
Christians who are lost in even the Christian ideology without actually living
Yes.
it. And
That's the
so
problem.
Jesse's calling everybody to, Jesse, he actually deals with the whole person, everything that's wrong with them. He does he doesn't shy away from the homosexuality and Islam and those things that liberals try to call out conservatives for being, you can only focus on sex before marriage and abortion and homosexuality and Islam. You guys just hate those people and you don't even look at yourselves. You guys are having divorces and all that. But Jesse deals with all of it. And any honest person deals with all those wrong things. And so...
But if Jesse deal with it and James don't deal with it, that means James hasn't experienced it. So can James tell me about it?
about what?
No. The people that you discuss all the time, as if they were bad. Or not
Yeah, I mean,
good, or evil people.
But I mean, you look at them, that is an experience. You read about them, that is an experience, because purportedly what you read about them is true. What you're watching
No, it's not.
on video is true.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Because the person that wrote about them could be a hater.
So, haters tell the truth sometimes too.
Sometimes you're right. If there's somebody there, if there's no one around to see what they did and how they did it, it's the truth to them. So that's what I'm saying. Learn and to get to know what you hate, and you just might like it.
No way. I'm not
Are you afraid?
Heck yeah.
So what are they going to do to you?
What? I'm going to try
He's
out
like-
Islam. That doesn't even make sense.
I didn't
To
say try it.
Yeah.
I did not say try that.
You said
You don't
get to
know nothing about it.
and you might like it. I might like Islam. All
like-
my experience with it is not good. There's only
But it's like
there's
I
a
say-
few decent people who just happen to be Muslim, but they're
Well,
decent people, and
okay.
they may break out of being Muslim.
Oh, so you try to change the minds of people and that.
I'm not trying to change them. I said they may break out of it themselves. I can't change people.
Well, how do you
You're
know
putting
you
words in my mouth, Maze.
Well, you might need to break out of some things too. It's like I say, God left a
Yeah,
law down
definitely.
here. He didn't leave. He left his laws down here. And if the world lives down, there would be some happy people. So until you do,
Right.
you're going to always be afraid.
Whatever, Maze.
That's
All right, thanks.
the way I live. And you have a good day.
All right, you too.
But when it comes to Kim and Bruce and
Yeah.
all of those people,
Mm-hmm.
and Kim is famous for something, I don't know what. Maybe you know.
Oh, I know. I mean, I
It
think I
wasn't
mentioned it
nothing to-
already.
No, you didn't.
Yeah,
She
I did.
became famous. Not through her father.
Right.
She
I
became
mentioned
famous
it.
with. Okay.
Yeah, I mentioned it.
And then with Bill Cosby, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, it's confusing. You have a mistrial, but then you go back and have another trial.
Yeah, isn't that so
That's
messed up?
American way of,
Do you agree
that's
with?
American
I
way
mean,
of life.
he may be guilty, but I really question it. I really question it.
Oh, you do? Well, that's a shock.
Yeah, because I haven't seen any evidence. So
No, there's no evidence. It's like they create crimes on people, and then
Yeah.
like the guy that just shot this cop, the way when it went looking for him, they didn't know if he had a gun on him or not, but he still went to jail alive. That's what I'm not understanding. When a person goes to jail,
I don't know
they
what
committed
story
a crime
you're-
with a gun.
Maze, I don't know what
One-
story you're referring to.
The guy that just picked up shooting the sheriff and killed him this weekend.
Okay, yeah, I haven't
him.
seen that yet.
Yeah, they get to pull him up and they'll show his
I mean,
face. And the
there's a
handcuff him
lot
and
of people who
everything.
get caught alive and stay alive. It
Yeah.
kind of depends on how you act when you encounter the police
Is
when
it-
they
really?
go to arrest you. Yeah.
Even if you had a weapon?
Yes.
And all with the guy with the weapon, him, the one that threw the gun behind the counter, why do you think he threw it behind the counter? If he would have taken a shot. See, that would have been, you
Maze,
probably would have shot the man.
You're getting off topic, Maze.
No, it's something I wanted to ask you. That's why I called you. The guy that, as they call him a hero,
Okay,
he was
okay.
saving his life.
Okay, everybody. I'll do
What would you have
because
done, gang?
Maze is a very faithful listener and caller, and so I'll do her this favor. So there was this story of a mass shooter who went to the
Waffle
Waffle House.
House.
A crazy guy, white guy.
Oh,
He
he's
went
crazy,
he went and killed, I believe, 4 people at a Waffle House in Nashville, Tennessee. I think it was last weekend, and the story goes that this black guy went and took the gun from him and threw it over the counter, and the guy, the shooter who was naked, ran away, and they caught him in the woods like a day and a half or something later, and he wasn't far from the Waffle House wherever he lived. So he had been the guy who actually jumped the White House fence months back, or maybe a year ago or something. He jumped the White House fence because he wanted to talk to Donald Trump. So he's like crazy. And so the FBI or Secret Service took his guns from him, gave it to his father. Apparently the story goes that his father gave his guns back to him. And he went into this Waffle House and started shooting people up. And he was crazy because he had also had other convictions, or he had stolen a car just days beforehand from a BMW dealer or something like that, and there was a brief police chase, but he got away, and the police stopped chasing, so that, according to the report, which I saw on Fox News, stopped chasing in order to track him or something like that. Go use the tracking device. And he also accused Taylor Swift of stalking him. He's like a young, good-looking guy, tall, white guy.
Nothing good looking about him.
So, yeah, he's good-looking.
You thought he
Come
was
on.
good looking. Excuse me, James.
So anyways, Maze is talking about that. And so what's your point about the black guy who was called a hero, taking the gun and throwing it over the counter?
Just to make it short, long story short,
Yeah.
if it would have been you to take that weapon from that guy, what would you have done? Threw it over the counter, or would you have shot him to make sure that he didn't get away?
Oh.
Which one would you have done?
That's a good. I mean, I don't know if that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that question.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, let me help you with it.
All right.
Because if he would have shot him, and the cops came in the door, what do you think they would have done with the man with the gun? They took it away from him, and they didn't know it.
Maze, you're just totally speculating. Okay, so
You'd be
what
like,
Maze
"Yeah,
thinks
man.
is
Yeah,
if the
you
black
just tell
guy
the truth."
kills the white guy who was the perpetrator, the cops come in, they're going to think the black guy was the perpetrator, and Maze might be speculating. I'm speculating here about her speculation.
And that's why he
That
threw it
they'll
over the
think that he-
counter. And I would have done the same
Oh,
thing.
gosh. That's ridiculous, Maze.
You would have taken and shot him.
Yeah, because I'm white. I'm innocent.
And another reason he didn't do it because he didn't
Man.
want to have murder on his hands. Everybody don't like killing people, and everybody don't like guns. Like you have to keep telling y'all that. And just because you have one don't mean that you can be safe with it. It can be taken away from you
Okay, but that's not
and used
murder.
against you, or either thrown away.
That would not have been murder, Maze.
And that's the moral of the story. What would that
Thank
been?
you. All right, I've kept you on very long.
Yeah, and you
I
have a
appreciate
good
it.
one.
You
It
too.
was nice talking to you.
All right, watch
and
church.
I'm not afraid of you.
Do
That's
you
why.
watch church?
Sometimes. I'm not afraid of you. That's why I talk to you. People
Right
only-
on. Thank
so
you.
you wanted to know why I call you? Because I can talk to you.
Yep.
Some you can talk to and some you can't.
Yep.
And some you can help and some you can't. So you have a good service
too.
this morning.
All right,
Talk
take
to you
care.
later.
Bye. That's Maze. She goes she kind of meanders around and speculates that the cops would have killed the black guy had the black guy, instead of throwing the gun over the counter, had shot the white guy who was the perpetrator. Whatever. Always Right, which is also known as Dario. Dario, is that you?
Yes, sir. What's going on today, James?
All is well with me, thank you. How about you?
Good. Pretty good, pretty good. So I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
You kind of touched on it earlier, and why is it that blacks are mentioned in every show in such a negative way? Is that a prerequisite for the show, or is that just something you choose to do?
I mean, I don't even think of it as being mentioned in a negative way, and I'm speaking positively about the example that Bill Cosby tried to set, and the eye-opening thing that Kanye West tried to do, and so Candace Owens generally seems to be right. I don't know a lot about what she says, but she seems to be like your standard conservative, and that's good. And you have to call out the fact that those are two huge stories, so I wanted to talk about them. And the reason that those are big stories is because blacks are in a mental prison of irresponsibility, and so you just have to like tell the truth about it. I didn't even think that I was talking that badly about blacks. I mean, and as far as every episode, I don't know if I've talked about blacks every episode, but it probably so. It's just something that we talk about here because Jesse's mission is to reach blacks first and foremost. It's kind of like Paul was called first to the Jews, then to the Gentiles type of thing. So because I work for and with Jesse, it is what I know about. So that's why.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. I'm pretty sure that you're educated on marketing, right?
Yeah. Yes, I took a marketing class.
So I'm sure you understand that you and Jesse's audience is mainly young white men, or let's just say white men. That's who comprises you guys' audience, right? Comprises you guys' audience, mostly, right?
I don't know if it's most. It may be a plurality because a lot of young white guys are sick of all that stuff. They're sick of the false cries of racism and stuff like that.
No problem.
But there's like a lot of older, and there's a whole lot of blacks who, including haters, but a lot of blacks who really resonate with what Jesse's about. I don't know. I think what the situation is that whites, they're a little bit closer to the truth on an intellectual level, at least, and so that's the situation.
So
especially men.
Okay, so how does talking about black people to a largely white male audience help black people?
Because black people get wind of it. They definitely catch wind of it. Case in point, you.
I don't understand. I got wind of this show by one of Jesse's comments where he thanked God for slavery.
Yeah.
I got wind of your show.
Yep.
So I didn't get wind by the average white male that's walking around and harboring negative feelings for black people. So what I'm asking is...
But wait, you're saying that... No, now you're making an accusation that the average white male is harboring negative...
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. Let me correct that. Some do. I didn't mean to say all or most. Some do. But these are not people that are starting conversations or starting programs to try to help these people. These are people, a lot of times, that just want to hold these feelings to feel superior to other groups of people.
I mean, anytime you make any statement, any stand that you make, there's going to be people who have feelings and who don't take it and use it in the right way. That's not Jesse's or my responsibility. And Jesse actually calls people out for, I mean, he deals with hatred of all people. And he says that you have to forgive your parents. You've heard it on the show. He's counseled with white guys, women, men, young, old, black, Hispanic, Asian, Armenian. It's something that everybody can resonate with. And him saying stuff about black people, I'll tell you, I've said it before. We hear it, we meaning whites, I hear it and others hear it, and they really relate to it. They relate to those things because they're dealing with the same issues that the blacks are, maybe on a less extreme level. Some are quite extreme. But anybody can relate to his message to black people because it's a message to all people.
Like we talked about last episode, he said his message is that most blacks are mentally retarded.
That's not his message. That's a point that he makes.
Well, this is the point that I'm making.
But he doesn't even repeat that very much. He said it once in one story, and I stood by it because like blacks can be very dense. And he talked with me about it later, and I said it's because they're dug in on what they believe. But he clarified it with me. It's because they're angry. When you're angry, you're stubborn in your lies. When you're not angry, you're stubborn with the truth. Like you stand on the truth when there's no reason to deny or question or doubt the truth. But when you have stuff that you don't know, when you know yourself, then you know that you don't really know what you're talking about a lot of stuff. And so you're willing to be wrong on issues. But so many blacks are not willing to be wrong on the fake idea of racism and stuff like that.
So do you feel that is helpful for Jesse to spread messages such as most blacks are mentally retarded? Do you think that that's healthy for the mind of a black child that might be listening to Jesse, or a black adolescent that might be listening to Jesse?
Definitely.
Okay. Cool.
Because a lot of kids can really see through the lies that are built up, because there's a lot of intellectual people become able to rationalize the lies that they believe and the evil that they do and stuff like that, whereas kids can kind of just cut through the clutter, and so they don't. They can see that homosexuality is wrong, or they see that, like, how is this racist, for example, and stuff like that. People who, like, so a black child hearing that will see the wrong things that other grown adult blacks who are setting a bad example do, and they'll see, that's what he was talking about. So yes.
Got you. Okay. Last thing. According to what I've seen, there is a big opioid issue within the white community.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Have you ever spoken on that?
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Okay,
we want to talk about it more too, but it's something that Maze has talked about for years, and it's not really in my world, but it's become more and more prevalent, and it's totally disproportionately whites. All races are doing it, but whites are disproportionately like off the scale.
Why do you think that is?
I think that there's a couple of things going on. Like, whites are, like, the morality of whites has taken a huge dive along with all the others. And whites are still, like, maybe, I don't know exactly why, I'm speculating here. The out-of-wedlock birth rate, for example, of whites is, like, above when it was crisis level for blacks in the 60s. It's like 30% out-of-wedlock birth rates. And whites are very high-stress people, kind of high-stress people. And so they get into, like, smoking and stuff like that more, maybe drinking and stuff. Kind of like the Asians get into smoking because they're high-stress people, whereas that's just like they're very intellectual, stressed-out type of people. And they're also, like, a little bit maybe higher class, but I don't know if that's true. But so they get into these uppity drugs, which it's not that uppity, but heroin, and heroin is an opioid, right? And then the pills, those pills that are like antidepressant, is it? Is that an opioid?
It would be like the Vicodin, the Percocet, the oxycodone.
Yeah, that's total like white woman or white person type of drug. And so it's definitely an interesting situation. For sure,
so
but oddly, there's a ton of people dying from it. Not a lot of violence that I know of surrounding it. Mostly, it's just ODs, and then like I've heard stories of this couple, for example, high on on opioids driving, and then they crash their car, and then like the I'm being told opioid drugs are not high class people drugs. Anyways, I've seen this story where two adults with their kid in the back driving a car, they're both like passed out on opioids, so they crash, and then they're dead, and then the kid is like standing or sitting next to their parents who OD'd on opioids. White family.
Wow.
So like there's some crazy stuff happening, and I don't know exactly what it is. We've talked about it a little bit, but for sure it's something to deal with. But you know, Jesse was called to the blacks first.
I just wish he would change his message a little bit. I believe he could attract more people if he spoke in a more peaceful manner and not an antagonizing manner.
But you know, I think you're misreading it, because it's not antagonize. He's not trying to antagonize anybody. Like that's not what Jesse's about. Now you could accuse other people of being antagonizing. You could accuse like the people who like there may be some truth to the statement that a lot of people who listen to Jesse take what he says and beat other people over the head with it. That's just what happens. Look at Christianity. Christianity is right, but a lot of Christians don't know how to live and don't know how to treat other people. And so like they beat other people over the head with it. And so it doesn't mean that Jesus was wrong. Jesus wasn't antagonizing people, even though he called people out very clearly. And Paul, the apostle, and others. And so like a preacher who's speaking the truth very bluntly and calling people mentally retarded or whatever. Oh, shoot, we're over time. Anyways, that's I don't think it's antagonizing, but I hear this all the time, but I don't think being nicer is going to work.
Okay. All right.
All right, appreciate it, Dario.
You over time. Yeah, good talk to you. All right.
All right, you too. Take care.
All right, yeah. All right, peace.
Bye. Dylon, 30 seconds, how about?
Oh, hey, I just wanted to say I feel like Cosby, I don't know what you think about him, but I feel like he did it because he just seems like a bad guy to men and women. He just, yeah.
You know, I've heard that he's, I've heard that he may be kind of a jerk, which a lot of, and that's, people say that about Bill Cosby, Bill O'Reilly, that he's kind of a jerk, quote unquote. But I think that's how old school men were, and so I'm not sure what to think. I don't know if that's actually true. You know, it's hard to say. He may be guilty of sleeping around, and he may be guilty of doing these evil things to women. Like he got used to what he was doing, and just
if somebody can have consensual sex with women, he's famous. He can have any girl he wants consensually, but he chooses to instead make it non-consensual. That is really freaky.
Yeah, if that's what he did, then it's wrong. It's a crazy situation. Appreciate it, Dylon.
All right, later.
Take care. That's it. Watch church in 1 hour.